The important piece of political art that this presentation will focus on is Norman Rockwell's famous "The Problem We All Live With". Norman Rockwell was a great American artist for much of the early 20th century as a result of his skill, the importance of print culture, and the absence of television. According to Carbone et al., he worked at the Saturday Evening Post for 47 years, focusing on what it meant to be American, but from a white perspective. He left the Post in 1963 to move to Look magazine, where he had freedom to depict a less whitewashed American dream. In 1964, Rockwell produced The Problem We All Live With. It is his depiction of the historical event where a young black schoolgirl named Ruby Bridges attends class in an all-white school in Louisiana. She is accompanied by 4 U.S. Marshals surrounding her. In the background, there is the school wall with the N-word across it in graffiti, and a tomato seemingly thrown from angry protesters. The beauty of the painting is that upon viewing, you can see the tension and the bravery of this little girl. Ruby Bridges attending the all-white school for the first time in Louisiana is one of the defining moments of the civil rights movement. Solomon considers The Problem We All Live With to be the defining image of the civil rights movement as well. With his widespread popularity and the controversy of the event, it was imminent that Rockwell's take on this event would have widespread controversy. This can be highlighted by referring to The Economist, who retrieved letters from the readers to the editor. One reader accused the painting of abetting the vicious crimes of racial immigration. Another, more positive reader from the South claimed that Rockwell had opened his eyes. Rockwell was immensely popular during this period, and for better or worse, these accounts seem to support that. However, he has also had a lasting impact, despite non-recognition from art critics. According to The Economist, the last 4 U.S. presidents have all hung Rockwell's paintings in the White House at some point. The problem was actually recently hung in the West Wing of the White House during Barack Obama's time in office. Traditionally, his paintings have been always adored. The everyday person, celebrities, Republicans, and Democrats alike have all seemed to appreciate his work. The personal and political reasons I have for selecting this piece of artwork for this presentation include having an ubiquitous interest in the civil rights movement in the United States, being influenced by black culture, and believing in equality more generally. Racism affects everyone, and ironically the title of Rockwell's The Problem We All Live With indeed seems to be true. As a fellow North American, I believe the civil rights movement has greatly improved the living conditions of people not only in the United States but internationally as well, and helped to strengthen black culture. Personally, I have always felt offended, appalled, and interested by the absolute immorality of the treatment of African Americans throughout the history of slavery prior to their Civil War, to segregation in the South, and systematic racism that even persists today. In addition to this, I have been immeasurably affected by black culture and appreciate the many African American artists, athletes, and people in general who have influenced things such as rock, hip-hop, athletics, and pop culture, which all affect me on an everyday basis. Both academically and politically, this is an important piece of study as the Civil Rights era was a tense period in history. The analysis of Rockwell's piece and its reaction could provide understanding to the broader moment in history which is filled with bigotry and racism. The analysis could assist in understanding its relations to contemporary issues relating to racism and xenophobia, which seem to have persisted in recent years, and even the refugee crisis in addition to the aforementioned subjects. This essay has a few main themes, but firstly, we'll review Gallagher and Zagaki's analysis of how Rockwell forces the reader to look within themselves and sympathize with Ruby Bridges in The Problem We All Live With. It will then focus on Rockwell's reputation as a progressive thinker and his motivations for the piece. It will then move on to discuss how Rockwell was circulated to a large degree during the period, which means he had a wide-ranging influence. Finally, it will examine how the media's images have an extensive impact on public narrative and conclude that all these factors in unison signify that Rockwell's influence on the civil rights movement was undeniable.